Hello, Serge here from the backyard driving range. No clipboard today because today is a Serge Swing update. And I got really good news to announce. As you know, and when I've done some of these, as well as some dailies in the last year or so, you've heard me talk about that I've had episodes of the hosel rockets, or laterals as we call them. And I've pretty much attributed them to the fact that I had trouble staying in my posture at a dress where once the hips are out, to keep it there, and I tended to come in. And I actually found myself a lot of times slouching in my posture where my hips were actually downward rather than pushed outward. Remember, we talk about in good posture, you push your hips out. So I think there's something to that, but I think part of that was caused by something that DJ picked up. I went recently and worked with him, and I've done a video on that, a daily on that, and when we got done with him, it was kind of hot, and he decided to sit on the cart in the shade and watch me. And the reason why he started watching me was at Bulls Bay, when we practice on the back of the range, we hit out over, there's a lake there, and we hit out over the lake back onto the driving range. DJ can hit it probably with about a 8-iron to carry the lake. I have to hit probably a big 7-iron if I'm going more straight and I can't go left, and at least a 7-iron to carry. So it's about a 150-yard carry. But to the right, they have a couple par 3 holes over there that people can go and play just to warm up or practice. And I shot the flag. I shot the first green over there, and it had a flag on it at exactly 100 yards, and I had a back left flag at 112 yards. And my sand wedge is good for 90, maybe 95 yards if it's downwind. So I don't carry a gap wedge, so I pulled out my pitching wedge and choked it, and was practicing hitting 100-yard pitching wedges onto that green, because basically I had to carry it about 92 yards to carry the water and get on the green. And it was really good to practice with that, because it's either you hit the green, or if you're short, you're in the water. And so naturally, I dunked the first ball, but after that, I got pretty good. But DJ sat down and started watching me, and I mean, I was in my typical me. I wasn't really hitting. I didn't hit any hosel rockets, but I came close once or twice, and I hit a lot of thins and weak bleeds out to the right. I mean, just even when I hit them solid, they were bleeding out to the right. And DJ was looking at it, and in between throwing up on some of those shots, he finally said to me, he said, "Dad," he said, Your stance is way too wide open. He said, your feet are way left. And he said, that's why, no matter what, that's why you're getting out ahead of the ball a little bit, or at least your hands are, even if you swing normal, you're left of the target, which means the club is slightly cutting across it. And even if you hit it solid, it's got to cut across swing a little bit, and that's why the balls are bleeding to the right. And I was missing some of them to the right. And then he kept looking at me and looking at me. He said, you know what? He said, I don't think your stance is as open as much as the fact that your back foot's too far under you. So let's say this is my aiming line right out. I'm going to use clubs here. My aiming line is out there, and when I got into my stance, when I walked in and I got into my stance, I was sort of like this. Now look at how open that is. And I've been sensing that a lot lately. And when I put the club down and check myself, and so I've been I've been having trouble getting into a stance, even when I try to start squaring up. And what DJ said was, he said, Dad, I think your back foot is too far under your body. And therefore, as you come into the ball, even if you make a normal drive into the ball, you're going to be on top of it too much, and actually maybe coming outside in on it. And so if you don't slow your leg down so your hands can get past it before your leg gets in the way, you're going to be driving into it all the time, and very likely hitting it with an open club face. And you drive into it too much, get it too close to the hosel, we know where that's going. Get a nice clanky sounding hosel rocket to the right, as well as all the clanky thin hits. So what he had me do is, he said, just get in here and just back your foot up. Now, you might say, holy cow, is that not going to get you close? Well, remember he said my shoulders were relatively square. So what I got to do is I just back my foot up, get myself relatively square, and look what it does look where my hips are, how my hips and feet were open, and my shoulder was relatively square. All right? Now this gets the hips and shoulders open. I feel the hip is back now. I feel it free. I can actually I've actually been trying for months now and working more and sitting and sinking into my right side, but that's still hard to do if my foot's under me too much, because now as I sit more, it actually, with a little bit more flexation in my knee, it actually has my knee more out in front of me and forcing me to come a little bit over the top of it, outside in, and hit the thin blades, and fades out to the right. So and it's always, no matter how much I try to sit or sink into it, I can't. It doesn't feel right because it's in the wrong position. It's open. So as soon as I took this open stance from, say, about here, and got the foot back in here, which was basically, I walked in and my foot wants to go there, I just backed it up about an inch or two, and you can see it's more square, and my right hip, it just sinks down better even at the address once I set up, and now it can actually turn a little bit, because I felt I haven't been turning my hips at all. And for everything from the wedge through the driver, and every club I've been hitting, especially the driver, I've been hitting nothing but, I've been hitting a lot of semi-solid heel cuts. They're all staying in play. They're not killing me, but they're shorter. And I've just felt that my swing speed is down. I've been on a machine. I've been checked a couple times, and it's been down to the mid to just under mid 90s to just under mid 90s. And about a year ago, I was even after the operation, I was still hanging in around 100 when I used to be about 105 to 108. And so now when I get this hip back, I hit it just as soon as I start loading. That's all. Whether I think about turning or not. So whether I think about turning it or loading, either one or neither, it just turns, and I sit and sink into the right side beautifully. So when I do all of that, all of a sudden now I'm hitting the ball much more solid, almost consistently solid every time. I'm hitting it much more straight, and as DJ started almost getting excited, he said, "Man, look at that, Dad, your drawer's back." And I haven't hit too many drawers lately, turning the ball over right to left a little bit without forcibly trying it. So now when I get in here and I hit any club, I feel like my hip is back to begin with. I still check out my toe line and get a feeling that my shoulders are over my toe line, and just take the club back. And now I feel like I'm right, so to speak, when I get here, instead of being out there. As soon as I do this, my hands are here. So there's a difference between here and there. It's right over the center of my shoulder, which now it comes in slightly from the inside, squaring up, as compared to coming in more on top of the aiming line and maybe even coming across it. And I hit the ball much more solid and straight. Although I can't hit my pitching wedge here, because I'm pretty sure that would go over the net. So I'm going to go ahead and maybe get in here with an 8-iron. Let's just get back to the 7-iron. And you're going to see that from here now, I would have normally been like this. I'm going to pull it back. I feel my hips out of the way. I can just stand right here. I got all the room to get in here. My right side quiets down, and I'm behind the ball, and I can feel myself driving through the ball better. And with that, with all the clubs in the bag, I mean, I'm hitting the ball higher again, but with better penetration and straight to a little draw. Or I can cut it just as easily, but now I cut it if I want to cut it, not that it's coming because I have no control over it, and just stand right in here. Set this up, my shoulders are over my toes, and I can really feel I'm right in here now, and I feel the club coming slightly from the inside, squaring up, just nutting it dead solid, and I'm getting a better trajectory, better height, and I'm definitely getting a little bit more distance, and especially with the drive. My balls are really now going a lot higher and penetrating and holding the line, and they're even drawing also. So I was kind of been toying with some things, but again, as I say, recently I haven't been thinking about my swing much anymore. I don't have time. I got a lot of other things to do. I haven't been playing much, and realistically, if you want to get better, you have to do some analysis of yourself. I haven't videotaped my swing, and the only time I videotape is if I'm giving a lesson, and even then I don't look at it that much. I just point some things out versus what I want the student to do, but I never come back home and look at it really intently. Again, I've just been more concerned about everybody else's swing and all the other issues I got going on, and getting this website, keeping it up and going, and getting a new site up, which is coming soon. So if you want to play good, you got to start thinking about your swing now and then, and not just when you're on the golf course. And I think that's critical if you want to be a good player. Any person in any endeavor you do in your life, you don't get to be as good as you are just thinking about it at those exact moments when you're doing it. You have to when things aren't quite right, or you're thinking about something you're planning to do or want to do or whatever, you keep it in the back of your mind. It bounces around in there, and sometime somewhere down the road that's how thoughts happen. I think that's how the great thoughts happen. They're bouncing around our mind. We keep them going there, and bam, they bounce together, and boom, there's the answer. And in this case, I had a lot of help from DJ sitting on that cart, taking a break and watching me hit, and he spotted it just like that. First thing he looked at was the alignment, right? Which I always look at, which I always tell you to check. And when the alignment was off, then he started looking at what was it causing to happen, and that's when he figured out the foot was in the wrong place, which again comes back to setup. The setup determines the motion. So you can pretty much figure, when you got swing problems, videotape yourself or whatever, and go back, and the first thing you start looking at is everything about your setup from your feet all the way to your head, and the answer is going to be somewhere in there. And when you see what's happening bad with the swing, what's wrong with the swing, you say, why did that happen? And you can wire it all the way back to setup, and boom, there's the answer, as DJ did. And I think he hit the nail on the head with me. So I'm looking forward to really starting to play some shall we say, I'm not playing any golf, but at least when I do get out there, hit the ball really well, and get the ball to start where I want it to go and finish where I want it to go. And to me, that's the whole thing about golf, controlling your golf ball. And so with that, feeling great about his swing now, his setup and his swing. That's the search for today, and I'll be talking to you all again soon.